So, hello everyone. As you know, my name is Rex, and today's topic name is generations of computers. Let's discuss that. So, guys, the development of computers is divided into 5 generations based on the major technological advancements that introduced during the different periods. And here, each generation brought significant improvements in speed, size, storage capacity, reliability, and processing power. Now let's first discuss about first generation of computers. So guys, the first generation of computers represents the beginning of electronic computing technology. Remember that? And this generation existed approximately from 1940 to 56, and they introduced the world to the first electronic digital computer, and this development changed the way of complex calculation performed by introducing electronic systems that are capable of processing large amount of data automatically, and they are much faster, better than humans in terms of completing calculations. And the main technology used in first generation computers was vacuum tube. Vacuum tubes were electronic components that control the flow of electric signals inside the computers, and thousands of these tubes were connected together to perform arithmetic operations, logical decisions, and data processing tasks. These computers were capable of performing calculation at much higher speed than humans, which makes them extremely valuable for scientific research, military operations, and government projects. That was the point that I was explaining. This was the point. So, next point is, however, programming these computers was also a difficult task, you know, because they used machine language as their only programming language, and machine language consists of binary instructions which is presented by 0 and 1 that I think we know, and they are directly understood by the computers. That's why programmers had to write every instructions manually in binary form, which made the software development more complex. Apart from that, these computers components were very large and they consumed a huge amount of electricity, and they produces excessive heat during operations. You can consider them their limitations here. And due to this reason, first generation computers required large rooms and special cooling systems and regular maintenance. And if we talk about storage capacity or memory, so for memory and storage purposes, this generation computers used magnetic drums as primary memory device. These magnetic drums, remember that, store the data in the form of magnetic patterns, but their storage capacity was very limited as compared to the modern memory technologies. And in this, input was mainly provided through punched cards and paper tapes, while the output was produced using printed reports. Although these computers had many limitations, they, but they established the foundation for future generations of computers. And these are some examples of first generation computers. And if we want to summarize it in some points, we can say that in this we see the use of, in this generation we see the use of vacuum tubes, and their size was much larger than modern computers, and they also consume more power, and they also produces a lot of heat, and that's why they need a separate room and a special cooling system. Apart from that, in this we see the use of machine language, and in this, memory and storage capacity of this generation computer was very limited as compared to modern system, and these computers mainly used magnetic drums for storing data and instructions that we know. Also, extremely expensive to develop, purchase, and maintain, and their high cost restricted their use to government organizations, military departments, universities, and large research institutions. Now let's discuss about second generation computers. So guys, before starting the second generation of computers, let's discuss at least some advantages of this first generation computer so you can write them in your exam. So just remember the points. Like in this we see the introduction of electronic computing, and they provide faster calculation than manual methods. They also improves the accuracy in data processing. Like these kind of points you can write in exam. And they also useful for scientific research, and they also reduces the human effort. We can say that like the introduction of first generation computers reduces the amount of manual work that required for complex calculations. So now let's discuss about second generation computers. So these second generation computers were developed during the period of 1956 to 63, which marked a significant improvement over the first generation. And this major technological change introduced in this generation was the replacement of vacuum tubes with transistors. So remember that. And these transistors were invented in 1947, but they become widely used in computers during the second generation. And this advancement solved many problems associated with vacuum tubes, such as large size, high power consumption, excessive heat, and frequent hardware failures. Now let's understand what is transistor. So a transistor is a semiconductor electronic device that work as a switch or amplifier for controlling electrical signals. And as compared to vacuum tubes, transistors were much smaller, faster, more reliable, and consumed significantly less energy. Because of this, computers become smaller in size and generated less heat, and they required that time less maintenance and become more efficient as compared to the first generation computers. So you can remember those points as advantages when you compare them, this generation with first generation. So second generation computers also introduces significant development in programming languages. Unlike first generations computers that used only machine language, these second generation computers guys support assembly language and early high level programming languages such as Fortran, which stands for formula translation, and COBOL, this one, which stands for common business oriented language. And these languages made the programming easier because programmers no longer had to write complex binary instructions manually. As a result, software development became faster, more organized, and accessible to more users. Apart from that, these generation computers were less expensive than first generation computers. Also, they used magnetic core memory, which provided faster access and greater reliability. Apart from that, in this, magnetic tapes and magnetic disks were also introduced for secondary memory, which allows computers to store large amount of data as compared to the previous generation. Also, they were extensively used in business education, scientific research, banking, healthcare, and government sector. And these are some example of second generation computers. Also guys, there is also one point. Although these second generation computers solve many problems of first generation computer, they still had certain limitations. They were still expensive as compared to the modern computers, and they required a controlled environment. Also, they needed a skill operators for maintenance. However, in this, the introduction of transistors established the foundation for further advancements, and this led to the development of integrated circuits in the third generation. Now, let's summarize it. So, what we learn here in second generation, we see the use of transistors instead of vacuum tubes, and in this, we see that these computers are smaller in size as compared to the first generation computers, and In this, we also see the reduction of power consumption. Also, these computers generated less heat as compared to their previous generation. And in this, we can say that the reliability of second generation computers improved significantly because transistors were more durable and less likely to fail as compared to the vacuum tubes. So there will be fewer hardware failures, which means computers can run for a long time. And in this, we also saw the introduction of assembly language. So guys, now let's talk about third generation of computers. One more point, this also increased the commercial use. These second generation computers become more widely used in commercial organizations because they were smaller, cheaper, and more reliable than the earlier computer. And businesses started using these computers for accounting, payroll processing, inventory management, and data analysis. So this generation helped us to introduce the computers into the business environment on a larger scale. So remember that. So now let's discuss about third generation of computers. Guys, third generation of computers brought a major revolution in computer technology with the introduction of integrated circuits. So, and these integrated circuits replaced the transistors that used in second generation computers, and they provide significant improvements in terms of size, speed, reliability, and efficiency. And we can say that an integrated circuit is a small electronic chip that contains thousands of electronic components such as transistors, resistors, and capacitors, and they are combined together on a single semiconductor material. Apart from that, third generation computers were they were much smaller, faster, and more reliable as compared to the earlier generations, and they consumed less electricity and they produces less heat, which reduces the need for expensive cooling systems. Apart from that, due to this advancement, computers become more affordable and accessible to business, educational institutions, government organizations, and research laboratories. So another important development during this generation was the improvement of operating systems. And in this, advanced operating systems were introduced that allowed the computers to perform multiple tasks more efficiently. Concepts such as multi-programming and time sharing were developed in this period. And this multi-programming allowed a computer to execute multiple programs by switching between them, while time sharing allowed multiple users to access the same computer simultaneously. Oh, I was talking about this point. Like I said, they were faster and more reliable than magnetic memory. Above one. That point I was explaining. So now, these third generation computers used semiconductor memory, which was faster and more reliable than the magnetic core memory. And in this, magnetic disks were commonly used for secondary storage, which helps in providing better data storage and retrieval capabilities. And in this, input and output devices such as keyboards and monitors become more common, which replace the older methods like punched card these punched cards for many applications. And we can say that, guys, third generation computers were extensively used in various fields. They played an important role in expanding the use of computers beyond scientific and military applications. Although these computers still required trained operators and they were expensive as compared to the modern computers. Also, remember that these third generation computers were extensively used in various fields such as in business, education, scientific research, banking, healthcare, etc. And they played an important role in expanding the use of computer beyond the scientific and military applications. This, the development of integrated circuit created the foundation for the future advancement in computing technology, and this improvement achieved during this generation eventually led to the development of microprocessor and the beginning of the fourth generation of computers. So guys, let's summarize the third generation computers. This time, instead of a brief summary about these points, let's understand them with their advantages. So they were much smaller in size. We can say that the introduction of integrated circuits significantly reduces the physical size of computers, unlike previous generation that required large rooms. Remember, in first generation computer, and these third generation computers occupied much less space. This made the installation easier and allowed more organizations to adapt technology as the and this smaller size also improved the overall efficiency of the systems. Apart from that, they also provide higher speed and better performance as compared to their previous generations. And in this, the use of integrated circuit improved the reliability of the computers by reducing the number of individual components that could fail. And in this, computer became more stable and required less maintenance as compared to their earlier generations. And this allowed the organizations to depend on computers for important tasks without any frequent interruption. Also, they in this we also see the less power consumption, and in this we also see the reduced maintenance requirements. So what we saw apart from that, yes, the introduction of modern operating systems and the support for multiple users. Remember that multi-programming and time sharing this. So guys, let's move to fourth generation of computers. Fourth generations of computers. So guys, fourth generation of computer began in 1971 and it continues to exist in present era. And this generation introduced one of the most important technological advancement in computer history. And what was that? The microprocessor. A microprocessor is a single integrated circuit chip that contains the complete central processing unit, including the arithmetic logic unit, control unit, and registers. I already explained those things. Remember that in my previous video? And this invention of microprocessor completely transformed the computer history by making the computer much smaller, faster, and more powerful and more affordable. And this also led to the development of personal computers. So before fourth generation, computers were mainly used by large organizations, remember, because they were expensive and required specialized facilities. And the development of microprocessor here reduces the size and the cost of computers significantly. So the thousands or millions of electronic components could now be placed on a single chip. This advancement made it possible to develop personal computers, PCs, that individuals could use at home. And apart from that, fourth generation was based on large scale integration, LSI, and later very large scale integration, VLSI. In this, guys, LSI, large scale integration, allows hundreds or thousands of transistors to be placed on a single chip, while VLSI technology allowed millions and later billions of transistors to be integrated into processors. And this improvement increased the processing speed, storage capacity, and overall computer performance. And we can say that, guys, this generation also brought major improvements in software development, as advanced programming languages, operating systems, database management systems, and graphical user interfaces were introduced during this period. And operating systems such as Microsoft Windows, and various Unix based systems made the computer easier to use. Guys, apart from that, networking and integrate internet technologies also became major parts of this generation computers. And now computers could now communicate with each other through networks, which allows the users to share information and resources. And this growth of the internet transformed the computers from individual machines into a globally connected devices which used for communication, education, business, entertainment, and research. Apart from that, storage technology also improved greatly during this generation. Hard disk drives, optical storage devices, flash memory, and cloud storage solutions increase the ability of computers to store and access large amount of data. And these computers are used in almost every field now. And we can say that smartphones, tablets, laptops, modern desktop are all based on the fourth generation technology. And if we talk about its advantages of fourth generation computers, so we can let's summarize them in a point. Like they are very small in size as compared to previous generation, and they also provide high processing speed. Apart from that, they are more affordable and widely available. Apart from that, they also provide a large storage capacity as their previous generations, and they are easy to use, and they also improve the communication. Apart from that, they also introduce the portable devices such as uh, our mobile phone, laptops, notebooks, etc. So now let's move to fifth generation of computers. Fifth generation of computers. Friends, this fifth generation of computers represents the current and future stage of the computer development. I know I didn't write anything here. That's why I wrote this part will be explained without written points. So this is my ninja technique to gain views. So just I will explain that. So what I was saying, this fifth generation of computers represents the current and future stage of computers development, and this generation began around the 1980s and continues to evolve today. Unlike previous generations that were mainly identified by changes in the hardware components such as vacuum tubes, transistors, integrated circuits, and microprocessor, the fifth generation focuses on developing computers that can perform tasks requiring human like intelligence. And the main technology behind fifth generation computers is artificial intelligence. This artificial intelligence enables the computers to imitate human intelligence by learning from experience, recognizing patterns, understanding natural language, solving complex problems, and making decisions. In this, the goal of this generation is to create intelligent systems that can interact with the humans naturally and can perform tasks with minimal human involvements. Apart from that, fifth generation computers used advanced technologies such as artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, natural language processing (NLP), robotics, expert systems, cloud computing, big data, and quantum computing. These technologies allows the computers to process numerous amount of information and to identify patterns and to provide intelligent solutions to complex problems. And we can say that one of the major development of this generation is machine learning, a branch of artificial intelligence which allows the computers to learn automatically from the data without being explicitly programmed for every task. Through machine learning algorithms, computer can improve their performance over time by analyzing previous experience and by identifying the useful patterns. Apart from that, you should remember that modern technologies such as smartphones, self-driving vehicles, intelligent medical systems, recommendation systems, and virtual assistants are the examples of fifth generation applications. And these systems use powerful processors, artificial intelligence intelligence algorithm and large amount of data to provide intelligent services. Although the fifth generation computers have brought remarkable advancement, they also create challenges related to the privacy, security, employment, ethical decision making, and dependence on technology. Despite these challenges, this generation continues to transform the way humans interact with computers, and it is expected to bring even more advanced innovation in the future. So, guys, that's it for today. Thank you for listening to me. Goodbye.